Hey, everybody. Welcome. If you're just signing in, we're going to give everybody a chance to get on, and then we will start in just under a minute. Hoping you're here for the AOP Languedoc webinar. All right, looks like most of the seats are filled, so I am going to go ahead and get us started. Hi, everybody. This is Lars Light from the SOMM Journal. Welcome to our little virtual voyage today to the south of France and Languedoc. Between the warm sun of the Mediterranean and the cool breezes of the Atlantic is where you'll find Languedoc with its diverse terroir, wide array of wines, and the most organic acreage in all of France. I think that's very fascinating. This webinar is being recorded. It will be available on sommjournal.com, and it's also right now on Facebook Live on the SOMM Journal platform, so you can find us there. So Languedoc is actually the flagship appellation, the overarching appellation that includes several designated areas within the appellation, as well as some subregions. So it's a very fascinating area. I'm eager to learn more about it today. I was fascinated to see a recent survey of the trade, a trade survey that included retailers, beverage directors, and importers that was recently done. And the three top takeaways I thought were fascinating. Number one, 74% of the respondents ranked the statement that Languedoc has a dynamic generation of winemakers driving quality and sustainability higher. That is pretty cool. That's been something that's recognized as a top qualifier for success in Languedoc. Also, the statement that Languedoc can produce Rhone-style blends, fresh light wines, and a variety of rosé wines at a better value for price than other regions. 77% of the respondents answered positively to that statement, indicating a wide variety of different styles from the 20 sub-AOPs in the area, delivering great quality to value. And then that there has been a tremendous improvement in Languedoc wines over the past decades in terms of style, quality, and new appellations. 75% of the respondents were positive about that statement. In 9 of the 20 AOPs, most of them are less than 20 years old, and they've achieved a great quality standard that has been extremely well recognized. So as I said, I am thrilled to, I guess we're addressing the remaining 30% that didn't get that message, but certainly all of us are positive about Languedoc, and I know I'm interested in learning more. So we have with us today Claire Henry, who is a Languedoc wine instructor. Claire, welcome. Happy St. Nicholas Day as well.
Yeah,
and please guide us through Languedoc.
Let's share the screen. So I hope you all have your passport, and let's go to Europe, and precisely to the south of France, and near the Mediterranean Sea, where we will see the Languedoc AOP. So welcome to the AOP Languedoc, the regional appellation, that is quite small with only 10,000 hectares of wine and of vine. It's spread on 4 departments, the Gard, Hérault, Aude, and Pyrénées-Oriental. And we have a long history related to wine with more than 2,500 years of history. So the AOP Languedoc regional appellation, it's really our flagship appellation. It's spread to the city, from the city of Nîmes with the famous arena. Then we go to Montpellier and until the border of Spain with the city of Collioure. It's almost 150 miles of long and 50 miles of wide. And maybe you have already heard about some other appellation in Languedoc. Maybe some Saint-Chinian or Forget ring a bells to you, but they are sub-regional appellation or village designated area. And today our main focus is really the AOP regional of Languedoc, which serves all the same area in red that you can see over there. So the vineyards climbs from the foothill of Massif Central and until the foot of the Pyrenees over there. And the vine is everywhere with really a diversity of landscape, but one constant is the beautiful Mediterranean Sea. So Languedoc is really producing the three colors, mainly rosé wine, red and white. And we sold a bottle of AOP Languedoc, 5 bottles every second. It's around 3 in France, 2 abroad, and mainly in US, thanks to our rosé, because I think you love our rosé wine. And if we go a little bit to see the natural factors, so we are in a Mediterranean climate with 3,600 hours of sunshine, but also we have 200 days of wind, which kind of really important because the tramontane, you can see over there, is blowing a lot and sometimes 80 miles per hour, so which is kind of a lot. It's really a friendly wind, sorry. It's like the Mistral in the Rhone Valley. And the south is also the same. It's announcing clear days and it's coming from the Atlantic and it's really blowing on the Aude, so the third department over there. And then after you have the Marin, that you must know, it's not really a friend of the winemaker because it brings humidity. And when we are talking about humidity, we are talking about fungal disease.
Mm-hmm. Claire, fast question about the topography there. Does it going from inland toward the Mediterranean? Is there a tremendous difference in elevation, or is it all pretty much on the same level?
We have kind of various different altitude. For example, if you are close to the Massif Central, it can be 500 meters. And in the Pic Saint-Loup, you can see here, it's our biggest hill with 658 meters. But after, it's quite really flat near the sea.
Okay, thank you.
Then, of course, if we are talking about Mediterranean, we are talking also about garrigue. It's a typical plant formation from the Mediterranean. It likes the non-acidic soil, like the limestone. And inside the garrigue, there is various varieties like thyme, rosemary, boxwood, oak, oliver tree. And it's really different from the maquis than you can have, for example, in Corsica or in Provence, which like the acidic soil and mostly just the schist. And it's really made about heathers, arbutus, sage bay, for example. And the garlic will be really important after in the aromas. And of course, we have to talk about the terroir, which includes specific characteristics of soil, topography, climate, landscape, and biodiversity. And in the AOP regional of Languedoc, we have a lot of variety of soil. You can see the schist over there, which is really brings tension, for example, for Syrah, like a freshness. You can find pebbles like sandstone. It's like small round pebbles like in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, for example.
Yeah, very reminiscent of that area.
Yes. And the pebble, it's really good for Grenache because it really helps the aromas of Grenache to be really highlight. You can find limestone, which is really a good soil to preserve acidity and to slow down ripening, and also clay, which is really good in water retention, which is important in our dry climate. It gives body and structure.
Speaking about dry climate, I'm not sure if on that bottom one I see a little bit of drip irrigation at all. Is irrigation permitted in the AOP?
In France, the irrigation is prohibited from the 1st of May until the harvest. But if you have a hydric stress or drought episode, the winemakers can ask and they should be approved.
Okay,
But it's really regulated.
right, of course.
So we can really sum up the fact that our region, it's really an amphitheater with kind of influence. Of course, the Mediterranean, it's really present. But if you go a little bit further, this influence will be less felt. So in the Mediterranean coast, you will have like long, warm summer days and mild, wet winters. It's really mainly sedimentary soil where you will find pebble, sandstone, and clay and limestone. In the Atlantic area, you will have a cooler influence with the south, the wind coming from the Atlantic, and you will find also limestone, clay, and sandstone. And in the hills and mountains, you will have really more diurnal range. It's a little bit more cooler, and you will find schist, basalt, iron-rich clay, so a lot of various diversity of soil. If we are talking about Languedoc, we must talk about innovation. We are really a land of innovation. So just a brief history. In the 5th century before Christ, the Greek came with the vine. In the 1st century before Christ, the Roman take over the vine. And we decided to improve the amphora of Roman by doing another amphora with a flat bottom. In the 1285, Arnaud de Villeneuve, who was a physicist and a doctor, discovered mutage. So it's 400 years before the Douro. In 1544, we created the sparkling wine, 1 century before Champagne with Dom Pérignon. So we created the bubbles with Blanquette de Limoux. In 1909, it was a severe winter in France. To meet the demand, we have to plant on the hillside. So we kind of discovered the quality of the hillside because it was really unsuitable for other crops. And in the 1967, Jules-Émile Planchon. Yes, sometimes I mix up with the figures.
All good.
So Jules-Émile Planchon found the grafting solution against phylloxera because I don't know if you know this fun fact, but we went to USA to find a solution against downy and powdery mildew, but we came back to France with phylloxera. So it's
That's neat. I didn't realize that. They always say you try to cure one problem, you end up getting another.
yes. So, but hopefully we found a solution. This is the best thing to remember. In 1960, a group of winemakers created a start of appellation with the VDQS Coteaux du Languedoc. In 1970, Alain Bouquet, it's a researcher, found some grape varieties and try to alert about the global change, the climate warming. In 1985, the VDQS became an AOC. In 88, we allowed white production. In 1993, we created the world famous organic wine fair. It's called Millésime Bio. So we invite you every January, end of January and February to come, and you can have all great producers of organic, but not only French producer, but really from all over the world. So this is really important. And in 2007, the AOP Languedoc was really expanded and includes the Roussillon, which is kind of really a really important step in our development. So as you mentioned, Lars, we are really a leader in organic wine in France. And our main objective in 2028 is the fact that 60% of the vineyard will have a committed engagement of, toward the environment. So 40% with a high environmental value certification and 20% of organic. Now let's talk about the grape varieties. And if you have to remember something, the AOP of Languedoc is really about blending. So in red, you have principal grape variety, the Syrah over there, Grenache, Le Donneur Pelu, which is a hairy cousin of Grenache, and Mourvèdre. And you have also secondary grape varieties that you can use.
So a question about that is and maybe I'm getting ahead of you, but you say principal grape varieties. Are they required in the blend, and can any of those principles be 100%, or does it always have to be a blend?
It has always to be a blend of minimum 2 varieties, but 1 principle. And the principal variety must be at least 40%, and the secondary cannot be over 30%. So it's quite a lot of math, but we will do that to the winemakers. And on the white grape varieties, our principal grape varieties are Grenache Blanc, Bourboulin, Picpoul Blanc, and Clairette. And you have also secondary varieties. And it's quite the same. You need to have at least 2 principal grape varieties this time, but 1 grape variety cannot be up to 80%. So it's really about blending, about marriage, wedding, compromise. In 2022, the specification of the AOP Languedoc moved, and new requirements enter into the specification, and measure to preserve water, which is something really important in terms of global warming. So plastic mulching is prohibited, and chemical products also. And new grape varieties to adapt climate change, like really local varieties like Picpoul Noir, Œillade Noir, or non-native varieties like Italian or Greek varieties. And you can see some producers who are already planting some Assyrtiko, Calabrese, Montepulciano, and doing some really good wine.
That's got to be controversial.
Yes, it can be a little bit controversial, yeah. But like in Bordeaux, for example, right. But it has to be less than 10% of the blend. So okay. We are keeping our really main core of the Grenache, Mourvèdre, Syrah, GSM grape. But I think it's something really important in terms of global warming. We have to adapt ourselves. So if we have to really think about style, we are doing really a various range of wine. And the red, you have mostly a GSM blend, but you will have always diverse wine with always one singularity. And principal aromas, characteristics that you can find will be really the garrigue. So this kind of olive, thyme, rosemary, dry herb on the nose, and also with ripe fruit, for example, like blueberry, black fruit, and with a lot of freshness. Often we are thinking about Languedoc with heavy wines, a lot of alcohol, but we have a lot of freshness that can give really something more easy to drink. In terms of rosé, there is really based on fresh fruit aromas, like citrus fruit, and like also strawberry, red fruits. And maybe, Provence rosé. But yes, so Languedoc rosé, it's a little bit different. We love also Provence rosé, but Languedoc rosé, they are a little bit more body. It's a little bit more round in the mouth if we have to compare. And
are the rosés in general made As rosé is meant to be a rosé, or is there any Saignée drawing off of the red?
So in terms of rosé, you have some who comes from Saignée, but sometimes you can have, for example, white grape varieties, but you cannot mix a wine made from white wines. It needs to be white grapes varieties. So this can be a bit different,
Right.
but you can use all the top varieties that we are mentioning over there.
Okay.
And a little trick, for example, the white wines of AOP Languedoc, it's really hidden gems. I really hope that you will find some bottles and try it, because it's really based on white flowers like almond trees, orange trees, and like citrus fruit, white fruits, pears. It's really, they have a lot of freshness, a lot of body, but it's really not heavy in alcohol. It's often 12.5, 30% of alcohol. So it's kind of really medium. And it goes with a lot of food, like, for example, cheese and seafoods, this kind of stuff. And I really think you should go for these white wines to discover them, because they are really some pepite.
Okay, I will.
I will send you some bottles.
I have enjoyed some very much, and they are absolutely what you're talking about. Beautiful fruit, quality driven, very bright wines. They're wines of the sun.
Yes, really. And if we have to sum up, so we are a really small regional appellation, which is really kind of rare, because when we are talking about regional appellation, we are always thinking about something really wide. But for example, Bordeaux, it's 40,000 hectares, which is something like 100,000 acres. So we are 1/4 of the size of Bordeaux, which is kind of really small. And behind that, it's really a human adventure. It's really based on the collective, about the vision that the winemakers share, which is bold, innovative, dynamic, committed to the environment. So if, for example, we can talk about Jean-Benoît Cavalier, he is the president of the AOP Syndicate of Languedoc, and really his force of proposal and leading into the biodynamic movement. Anaïs Ricom, she is really the young generation. She used to travel, she worked in New Zealand wine vineyard, and she came back, and now she's located in Picpoul de Pinet, and she's also organic, and doing a lot of things between art and wine, so linking the both, so which is really interesting. Then you have Benoît Viau, which is a former pharmacist. So he's a kind of neo-vigneron, neo-winemakers. And now he's the president of the Pic Saint-Loup Syndicate. So we are really welcoming a lot of people who are really wanting to do something with the wine. And this is a perfect example with the Chemin des Rêves. Then Olivier Julien, which is really an important man, because he started the movement of the emergence of private estate. He decided to left the cooperative system. Then you have Domaine Clavel, an historic wine grower family. His father is a really famous wine grower and historian. He writes a lot of books. I don't know if we can say that, about the history of wine in Languedoc. And Pierre Cavel is really going forward the work of his father. And Jeanne Fabre, who is now the president of Millésime Bio, so the organic wine fair, she started the conversion of family vineyard in 90s, so kind of almost 30 years ago. And she is really focusing about how to reduce the carbon impact of the bottles. And of course, some famous faces that you may know, Gérard Bertrand, the pioneer of biodynamic and organic, Sylvain Fada with Domaine d'Opiac, really on biodynamic also. He shared really a bold vision for the small story. He decided to plant Syrah on a north-facing terroir. And it seems a little bit crazy at the beginning because everyone was like, what are you doing that? Syrah needs sun, and you are planting your Syrah in north and into a forest, and now Syrah are the most wanted bottle in France. Anne-Laure Gauche is really an amazing woman. She's doing some wine called Domaine Le Nouveau Monde, so it means the new world. And she really enjoyed the Mourvèdre, which is kind of really a particular grape variety, kind of hard, but she really succeeded to sublime it. And she has been elected the Wine Grower of the Year of 2022 by the Guide Hachette. And to finish, you have Jeff Carrell, a famous consultant and winemakers who has decided to create really particular labeled original wines at affordable price. He is working in a lot with a lot of vineyard, a lot of appellation, but it gives a lot of strong identity. For example, we can talk about his Chardonnay Botrytisé, for example, which is kind of really strange for Chardonnay, but really good. And of course, about the famous GSM blend called Les Darons. So this is to give you an idea about the fact that really the Languedoc, it's all about a human history, about a collective adventure. So I hope if you have any more questions, I'm really happy to.
Yeah, please, our audience, you're welcome to put questions up in the Q&A as we're getting ready to sign off though. And Claire, I'll ask you to, when you're ready, give that a minute on screen, but then you can go ahead and stop sharing. But this was fascinating. And you told me that it was cold, it was chilly today. What is chilly in Languedoc? It's all relative, right? So about how many degrees?
Yes, it's 12 degrees. 12 degrees, I don't know how in Fahrenheit is it?
So you're in the 50s Fahrenheit, not bad. I would trade that for New York. That's pretty much what's going on in a lot of Europe right now, in Southern Europe. So 50 degrees is not bad at all, but I know when you're used to warmer weather, it's different. We always make fun of people in the warmer climates. You had to put socks on today, sorry. But that's great.
It's true. And gloves.
Yes, exactly. And how was this past summer? Did you have a very torrid summer, as we heard about in a lot of Europe?
Yes, we had a lot of fires. So some of winemaker it was really difficult for them because they saw their crops really burning. But it was really kind of hot and dry. We had a lot of hydric stress. But hopefully the AOP, the regional appellation, succeed to have a beautiful crop. So I'm sure 2022 will be a good year to make really, yes. They are all bubbling now. So we are waiting, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Did they end up permitting any irrigation this year because of the heat?
Yes, they permitted, yes.
Okay. That makes sense. And did you have the same? I heard in a lot of Europe that toward the harvest period, things sort of calmed down. There was a little bit of rain, it cooled things up, gave a little bit of relief, and the weather mitigated a bit. Is that what happened in Languedoc as well?
It was a little bit different. We had a lot of rain, but after the harvest. So, and what is something really important also in the Languedoc, it's like we have what we called seasonal episode. It's like a lot of heavy rain raining in a day, but unfortunately, our soil cannot have the capacity to drink it and absorb it. So it leads to inundation. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but no, it was kind of okay. We had a really not frost this year. We don't have a lot of rain during flowering, so it didn't impact a lot the crop. It was really most about the hydric stress and about the fire this year that was more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Mother Nature always has plenty of challenges for us. Well, here's hoping we have
Yes.
a good winter with sufficient rainfall and then a great 2023 season. So Clara, thank you very
Yes.
much for joining us. Everybody else who's joined us today to view, thank you all for joining us in. Remember, you can see this recording on sommjournal.com or on the Facebook platform of Somm Journal. And we very much appreciate your time and your interest. Claire, great information. And I also just found out a little while ago that today is your birthday. So enjoy your celebratory dinner this evening and
Thank you
have a
so
wonderful
much.
day and a great season.
Thank you, and also have a wonderful holidays and Merry Christmas to everyone. Have a glass of AOP Languedoc.
Sounds like a great idea. Great stocking stuffer.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
All right. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Claire. Thank you, Languedoc AOP, and happy holidays, everyone. We'll see you in the new year. Au revoir. Bonsoir.